Hello everyone! Pineaaronapple here with the second episode of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary, Wild Blue Yonder. An episode that I don't think anyone has predicted. An episode shrouded in mystery that wasn't quite exactly what anyone thought it was. There were so many rumours of the story, cameos and anything else you could think of that, as my father and I watched, we looked upon a bingo card I made out of Twitter theories. Last time we had the Star Beast. That was a fantastic return to form, when removed from its baffling and contradictory socio-political commentary, and left me excited for not only this episode, but for the oncoming era. So let's get into the enigma that is the Wild Blue Yonder, and see if any of these bingo points can be ticked off, and if the secrecy actually enhanced the viewing experience any, because considering the lack of cameos in this episode, it might not have been wholly necessary. First of all, we end up in England 1666, as a short cold open with not yet Sir Isaac Newton, played by Nathaniel Curtis, who, for the short time he's on screen, is a pretty lovable presence, and the scene itself, as the Doctor and Donna run into him, works as a short little skit, but also sets up a running joke throughout the episode. After Donna makes a joke about gravity, and the Doctor tells Isaac to avoid London because his fifth incarnation is burning it down, Isaac gets the word gravity confused with mavity. So for the rest of the episode, it is referred to as such, which was so well integrated I didn't even realise until halfway through the episode. Nathaniel Curtis is relatively new to acting, with only 4 IMDb credits, one being associated with Russell T Davies, who wrote the episode. But I feel it must be pointed out that no matter how good he is not the same ethnicity as the non-fiction historical figure he's playing. Normally it wouldn't be such a problem, but with the current climate, like the race-swapping Cleopatra series, or the rewriting of history in some historical-based movies, it is something that needs to be said. Not degraded or mocked in any way, but a point that has to be observed, as it takes nothing away from the scene, but I'm sure if back in Rosa, if she was played by an Asian or Caucasian woman, there would have been complaints. So as I said, it is something that needs to be noticed, even though it's not bad in isolation. After the credits, the TARDIS impacts into a sci-fi looking room, sending 14 and Donna tumbling out as a river of flame is sent from the TARDIS, as it plays the song Wild Blue Yonder to be ironic. The doors shut on their own, leaving itself to heal, 14 going through emotional turmoil, and taking to the lock as Donna talks about her childhood time in the choir. 14 places his sonic screwdriver in the lock to help the TARDIS regenerate, in an interesting use of the device, but also as a clear way to write the device out, to keep the story more interesting. 14 deduces they're in a spaceship, and the two of them swan off to this CGI hallway that no doubt looks good, but it does stick out a little as an obvious effect. Donna wants to go home, but 14 lures her away to check out a figure in the distance.
We've got lights, we've got mavity.
They're clearly being watched by something as they talk about how hot Isaac was, but are caught off guard by hearing the TARDIS leave without them. Starting a long through line in this episode as these two share a great emotional moment, fighting and reconciling very believably, and expositing the HADS, which is the device that made the TARDIS leave, and it won't come back until whatever danger exists there is done with. So Donna rallies to
Kick its ass!
They talk more about the choir, and with the exclamation of an alien word, the hallway reconfigures itself. 14 is sick of walking and manages to somehow find them a hovercraft that reminds me of the transportation in Austin Powers. Making their way to the robot dubbed Jimbo quite a lot quicker, who, while he doesn't do much, has a pretty good design. It takes a step, but doesn't do much else, and is clearly run down. They run through some ideas and continue forwards to the cockpit, finding it bereft of life. 14 boots up the computers and figures out they're 1 to 10 in order to read the screens. How he knows that what we learn later are equine-like aliens use a 1 to 10 system and not something else is a different matter, but he manages to read that there are no life signs, it's running on low power settings, and 3 years ago an airlock opened. We also get to see the feed of a drone outside, and the CGI on the ship and the vast nothingness around them looks pretty good for how little we see of it. We get another mention of Mavity, but the Doctor observes that the ship had fallen through a wormhole, so far out to the edge of the universe that it's a completely unknown area. A nothing where creation and light hasn't yet reached, which is an intriguing concept. Starting the story off with one of my favourite types of Doctor Who setups, which will be continued later, the unknowable. Whether it be a location or being, but something that is so far beyond our primitive understanding that it's so difficult to have hope that the characters will remain unscathed. They hear a knock but can't seem to find where it comes from, so after the hallway reconfigures again, calling out another name and Jimbo taking another step, they investigate the adjoining rooms. 14 licking a component of the ship and feigning sickness. For the trailers, I suppose, because out of that context it just makes him look like a bit of a dick. 14 wants to power the ship, so asks Donna to move the rectangles as he investigates and meddles in another room. Only moments later, 14 re-enters the room, and while he doesn't do much, Donna gives a good emotional speech, imagining Rose coming back to the alley every year like Batman, if she doesn't make it back, and making clear her wishes for 14 to spend some time with her family. And then we see 14 back in the blue room with Donna entering, and prompting him to give his own little speech intercut with the other room's copies of them. 14's wonderings about the TARDIS, while just a bunch of thoughts to give us insight into his imagination, is a really beautiful one, honestly sounding like the type of emotional story someone at Big Finish would cobble together. And it's little windows like this into their minds that helps elevate the emotions of the episode. The sudden versions of 14 and Donna start getting creepy, and we see some brilliant prosthetics, them becoming like something straight out of the Mandela catalogue. They point out that their arms are too long, and the quality of the prosthetic, the music, the performances, and cinematography are a perfect storm to make this both thrilling and creepy as they descend on the real Donna and 14. These creatures are the Not Things, from the expansing infinite beyond the edge, and seem to be methodically attempting to copy the Doctor and Donna, confused at the human-like physiology. Adding to what I praised before, the way that these creatures seem to have to trial and error their way through the rules of our universe and space is chilling. To reiterate what I said before, it is this cosmic horror of the unknown and beyond that makes my favourite Doctor Who stories, being so powerful or unknown that you truly have no solid strategy to beat them. They name themselves, as they call themselves, Not Things, and the true Donna and 14, Not Nothing, just to prove the limitations of our language while referring to them. To get away, Donna and 14 hop back on the hover car, and are chased by the Not Things as they grow. And while this distorted and corrupted look of our protagonists works well, especially as we never get too long a look at the creatures like this, the CGI effects on the actors' faces leave a little to be desired from me, as I'm pretty sure I've seen a few of these effects on TikTok filters, and the Donna Not Thing starts to look like a rat. But the chase is thrilling nonetheless, and the detail, like the flesh rippling as Donna smacks to Not Thing 14's hand away, integrated into the scene well. The hovercraft falls apart, and the Not Things grow too far to move, creating the impressive visual of the two of them stuck in the corridor. Of all things, Donna mentions venom, and they discuss where the Not Things came from. They supposedly arrived in the airlock, and as they learn the concepts of the universe, they convert heat into mass as needed, and seem to have each other's thoughts as well. They start to attack again, and 14 and Donna make their way to a hatch, only for the ship to reconfigure again, leaving them separated in alien-looking hallways. The atmosphere in these corridors, while they wander about, while a little boring looking, is good at ramping up the tension, even if at points I was waiting for an animatronic bear to come jumping out of the dark. The duos once again meet up separately, and while it is easy to guess which of these in the pairs is real, the performances and writing is on point to leave just enough doubt that the tension remains. With the real Donna and Not Thing 14, she talks his ear off into confusion, and he proves that by taking off his tie he's the real thing, since the Not Things might not know about surfaces. Once Donna thoroughly confuses him, she asks about the tie, it disappearing from the ground, and we get my favourite line from the Not Thing Doctor.
What's existing?
Before he combines Exorcist and CGI of the big babies to chase her away. With 14, Not Donna manipulates him by talking about the flux and the timeless child, claiming to have seen it in the recent meta-crisis. And the reaction from the Doctor on both counts is far more satisfying than almost the entirety of both arcs, which is honestly unfortunate. But the rage and sadness of the performance radiates, and Not Donna pressures him fantastically, really hurting him as she melts and screams at him. He escapes, but he has to let off some steam in this melancholy scene before ultimately running again. The ship reconfigures again, and all four meet up in the same room, and the trickery they use to hide the screen doubles is pretty seamless. It's probably one of the two most impressive pieces of the cinematography this episode. 14 finds the real Donna by confusing the creatures, by proving the insanity that is humans, as he states that two contradictory states are both true. Donna thinking she is stupid, but at the same time, brilliant, and using the same belief logic to keep the intimidating Not-Things at bay by drawing a line of salt. Where did he get the salt? Who knows, but it works in invoking the supernatural superstition, both being superstition and true, continuing to confuse them with contradictions. Not Donna taking to task and counting the grains in the line. The Not-Things are stabilizing and divulge their origins. They drifted to our universe and are attracted by the inherent hatred and the like in the universe. The energy of hatred supposedly travelling further than love. A philosophy I suppose is believable. But Not Donna gets fed up and blows the salt away. The two of them finally showing their British roots. Donna and 14 are saved by the world's shittiest secret door, it dropping them where they started, but giving them just enough headway to run from the Not-Things back to the bridge, locking themselves inside with a door pretty reminiscent of the one from the last episode. I wonder if we'll get another next episode, making this the Glass Door trilogy. The Not-Things are almost completely copied, and 14 and Donna figure out that the Not-Things intentionally rile them up, and get better the more they think, which is probably one of the Doctor's greatest weaknesses. But slowness, and subsequently the slowness of their thoughts, weakens the Not-Things. The performances from this point on are once again just stellar, especially with the dual roles that the actors play. The Not-Things start to prod at the Doctor, forcing his brain to start thinking the answers to all the lingering questions. The first being, what is making that clanging sound? It being the pilot, being
Caught in the gravity field.
Caught in the what?
Gravity field.
14 wonders why the captain is outside without a helmet, and realises that the Not-Things don't know either. 14 is unable to rein himself in, and Donna realises the airlock was actually the captain killing herself, to stop the Not-Things from copying her and taking the ship. The ship reconfigures again, 14 and the Not-Thing Doctor figuring out what it is. Slowly, the ship is becoming a bomb. Very, very slowly, because the Not-Things can't figure out slow. And couldn't figure it out since the detonation device, the robot Jimbo, can't be copied. The words we've been hearing being a countdown. The Not-Things go to stop the robot, and have to fight 14 for the door controls, in a pretty tense scene, and 14 does the only thing he can, speed the bomb up. It becomes a chase to get Jimbo, starting to look like an episode of The Flash, unfortunately. 14 tosses Not Donna, only for her to be pummeled in epic fashion by real Donna, and the Not Doctor escapes by shifting into a less human shape. But as the Doctor rightly points out, if they had slowed down the Not-Things enough, then, as a time machine, the TARDIS would know when to come back in order to pick them up. He hovers the TARDIS over and is forced to choose a Donna, asking about the choir teacher, one giving a thoughtless answer and one giving a deep one. He takes the wrong one, who gives this greatly menacing performance, and Donna is left to call out in despair as he leaves without her, the bomb detonating, leaving only seconds till her death. This whole amazing climax being resolved as 14 observes,
Your arms are too long.
and rolling Not Donna out of the TARDIS, and grabbing the real one, leaving the Not-Things to their fiery demises. I don't think the TARDIS ramp thing is totally ridiculous, but this climax is really made by Catherine Tate's performances, selling the tragedy of the situation before they make it right and escape. The ship going up in gloriously rendered flames. 14 makes the excuse that the Not Donna was a 99.9% copy, so it makes sense they were confused, and teases a future villain by mentioning the thing with the salt may have called in another being to the universe due to the superstitious nature of it. 14 is concerned if Donna remembers the things that Not Donna manipulated him with, and Donna says she can't remember, but tries to help 14 anyway. I wish there was more in this scene, but the two of them continue to work off each other nicely, so I can't really complain. They land back in the alley a day or two later, only to be met by the one, the only, the best Doctor Who character since he appeared in the Doctor Who Peter Cushing movie, Doctor Who and the Voyage of the Damned, Wilfred Mott, played by Bernard Cribbins, rest in peace. It seems this will unfortunately be his final scene, but the way he talks to Donna and 14, it was worth it to see him again, even if it isn't a grand farewell. The reunion is lovely, but the episode itself ends with riots starting in the streets as Will starts to panic. The family is safe, but they are forced to take refuge from a crashing plane as the credits start to roll. So that was Wild Blue Yonder, and while it may not have had Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Michelle Gomez, King Charles and Jesus Christ himself in it, it was a pretty good episode. While I'm not sure the amount of secrecy was justified, it does make the story more tense as we know little of what's going to happen. But that also does lead to some viewers developing unrealistic expectations that can harm the viewing experience. The story had a fun opener, and the cosmic horror of the unknown paired with the menacing and well-defined performances from David Tennant and Catherine Tate make it exactly the type of story I love from Doctor Who. The CGI, while fitting in well to the Mandela catalogue and Uncanny Valley horror genre, could be a little off at times. Like when it started to look like a CW show for a few moments there. But on the whole, I really enjoyed this episode. The creative villains and story were impressive, and I'm sure that in a little time this might be put up there with the likes of Blink and Heaven Sent, even if I think I might prefer those episodes personally. I'll give the Doctor Who 60th Anniversary, Episode 2, Wild Blue Yonder by Russell T Davies, a cool 9 out of 10. Better than last week by far from a story perspective, especially with the emotional resolution, but it wasn't perfect. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and hopefully you'll come back next week when we look at The Giggle. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, and consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring that notification bell so you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.